Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar and workshop series conducted by TCS in lieu of the upcoming SCS exams happening in August 2026. My name is Nick and I'm the lead tutor and evaluator for SCS at TCS. So let's look at the session outcomes. First things first, I'm going to conduct an industry analysis because it is essential that you gain a clear understanding of what your industry is all about. There's a lot of technical information contained within the industry analysis. And then I'm going to direct your attention towards a pre-scene analysis. I do not have time to take you through the entire pre-scene. I'm simply going to direct your attention towards mainly the internal dynamics of your chosen company. And also, I will be directing your attention towards the risk report and the some part of the financial statements of your chosen entity. And then finally, I'm going to talk about how to deal with pre-scene application, because at this stage, your application skills are heavily tested. So when developing answers, you need to ensure that your answers are totally aligned with unseen info. And as and when necessary, you need to bring in pre-scene information with the intention of adding value to your answers. So you will learn all these things in depth at this webinar in terms of pre-scene application, as well as at the third webinar, which is happening next week. So before we get into the technicalities, let me quickly remind you of the upcoming webinars and workshops we have scheduled for you. So the the third webinar, answering technique, is happening next Saturday at 9 GMT or 10 AM UK. Which is a crucial webinar in which I'm going to teach you both answering and time management techniques, because if you are unaware of proper answering and time management technique, then definitely you will struggle to structure your answers. You will not know how to approach each conceptual element. You will struggle with application, and at the same time, you will run out of time. So make sure to attend the third webinar without fail. And similarly, at the fourth webinar, I'm going to teach you stress management techniques. It is crucial that you understand these stress management techniques, because at this exam, the examiner intends to not just test your theory knowledge as well as application capabilities. The examiner is trying to figure out whether you can manage a stressful situation. So that's why it is essential that you attend the fourth webinar. And then we are kickstarting our workshop and masterclass series. And in each workshop, I will be taking you through the content concerning your F3, P3, and E3 syllabi. And also, I will be conducting a masterclass, thereby directing your attention towards a question taken from one of our mock exams, explaining how to tackle a question tied to F3, P3, and E3 syllabi. And in the final workshop, which happens just 2 or 3 days before the examination, I will be sharing last minute tips with you to make sure that you are walking into the exam with a high level of positivity. Because as per the CIMA examiner, if you believe in yourself, you will perform really well at your exam. So make use of these free resources on offer. Attend these weekly webinars and workshops, which are conducted free of charge, which is the best way to learn something in each week. And at the same time, this is the best way to keep tabs about your performance on a weekly basis. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can reach out to me via these webinars and workshops. I'm there to address all your questions. All right, so having said that, let's move to the industry analysis. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to direct your attention towards the industry analysis first, and then I will be taking you through the internal dynamics of your chosen company, thereby conducting a pre-scene analysis. So this time's pre-scene is based on a manufacturer of 3D printers. So let's try to understand what this industry is about. So if you try to define this industry, as I mentioned earlier, this time's pre-scene is based on a 3D printing manufacturer, or a manufacturer of 3D printers, or this industry is also known as additive manufacturing. So why do we call this additive manufacturing, or why do we call 3D printing additive manufacturing? Because you add layers on top of each other to develop something utilizing 3D printing. So 3D printing is mainly used for prototyping, especially when it comes to consumer electronics, because before you introduce something into the market, at the research and development stage, you need to come up with a prototype. So 3D printing makes prototyping extremely easy, because in the good olden days, if you wanted to develop a prototype, you had to get in touch with a traditional manufacturer, and the traditional manufacturers did not have the capabilities to develop a prototype which is to the exact requirements of what is stipulated by research and development staff. But this problem is fixed due to 3D printers, because once you feed the information or the design into a 3D printer, a 3D printer can print something or develop a prototype to the exact requirements of R&D staff. So, most companies out there which are involved with innovation, when it comes to prototyping, they rely on this industry or companies which manufacture 3D printers. And also, 3D printers are used for commercial purposes as well, because certain industries, especially the aerospace industry, jewelry industry, as well as car manufacturing industry, and likewise, as well as consumer electronics, they rely on 3D printers to print something whenever they want in an instantaneous manner. For instance, if you look at the aerospace industry, let's assume you want to, repair one of your components, or replace one of your components within an aeroplane. So when you want to replace a component or a part, in the good olden days, you had to place an order and wait for some time until an international manufacturer manufactures the component and sends it across to you. So there's a lot of delay when it comes to getting access to parts. But in this day and age, if you have a 3D printer within the airport itself, you can print the necessary component or the part then and there. So you can instantaneously manufacture or print the part which you need, rather than having to rely on a third party supplier and wait for extended periods of time until you get your part. So until you get the part, the aeroplane will be grounded. So you can fix all these issues when you rely on 3D printing, because you can, as and when you need something, you can 3D print an object, or you can 3D print a part or a component within your premises or within your factory itself. So that is why 3D printing is utilized within commercial manufacturing settings. And as I mentioned earlier, 3D printing is utilized for prototyping. And what type of activities are carried out by manufacturers of 3D printers? So manufacturers are involved with printer design and development. So, 3D printing is an innovative technology, and this technology is constantly, changing, because there's a lot of innovation impacting this industry itself. So because of that, if you want to become a successful manufacturer of 3D printers, you have to constantly focus your attention towards developing your 3D printers as much as possible. So that's why designing and development elements are crucial when it comes to running a 3D printing or a 3D printer manufacturing business. And also, you need to rely on CAD or any other type of software. CAD stands for computer-aided design. So I said that if you want to, print a component, for instance, you can do it in-house within your own premises. So how it works is, you feed the design into a CAD software or computer-aided design software, and utilizing the software, you can change the design as and when you need. And once you finalize the CAD design, then the 3D printer will end up printing a certain component or a part or a product as per your specifications. So that is why manufacturers of 3D printers have to be conversant with CAD or any other type of software integration, because without a CAD software, you cannot run a 3D printer. So it's essential that you integrate a CAD software into a 3D printer, because without the CAD software, you cannot run a 3D printer. And also, when it comes to manufacturing commercial printers, they use different technologies So I'm going to talk about these various different technologies in a little while when I'm taking you through the internal dynamics of a chosen company. So there are, basic 3D printers out there, as well as, if you look at commercial 3D printers, there are laser 3D printers, as well as, extrusion type of 3D printers. I'm going to talk about all these things in a little while. What you need to understand at this juncture is the fact that there are various different technologies, or various different printers which come with various different technologies. And these printer manufacturers are involved with supply of compatible material as well. Because just because you have a 3D printer, you cannot print something, you need raw material. So 3D printer manufacturers usually end up supplying the necessary raw material to commercial clients. For instance, if you want to, print something such as an aerospace part, you will have to, manufacture something using some type of a metal. So 3D printers can be input with metal powder so that you end up manufacturing a component or a part which is made out of metal. Similarly, you can use plastic as well. So if you look at the jewelry sector, for instance, you can feed in gold, titanium, silver, or any other type of precious metal. So, when you have seen 3D printers, you would have seen that most of the time the raw material is plastic, but that is not the case if you look at commercial 3D printers, because you can use plastic. And on top of that, you have the opportunity of using various different metals as well. And therefore, since these 3D printers rely on specialized material, 3D printer manufacturers, they do not just design and manufacture 3D printers. Instead, they also are involved with the business of supplying raw material which are needed to manufacture something via a 3D printer. And also these same type of companies, they provide technical advice and after sales support, because let's assume you have gotten in touch with a certain business, and the business owners will be totally clueless of how a 3D printer is going to help them. So you have to send your sales staff and convince them, try to gain an understanding of how a certain business conducts its operations and how 3D printing is going to ease their manufacturing related burden. And also you have to provide some type of support when it comes to implementing the 3D printer, implementing the software, training individuals so that the company is in a position to actually utilize the benefits of a 3D printer. And at the same time, you need to have the capability to provide after sales services, because for instance, if a 3D printer fails, then you need to send your technical support staff to fix all the issues. And you need to maintain these 3D printers as well. That's where after sales support come into play. So if you look at the main activities, they are multifold. These players within this industry, they are not just into manufacturing 3D printers. They are also supposed to look into supplying the raw material which is needed to manufacture something utilizing a 3D printer. And at the same time, they have to provide support services, technical advice, as well as after sales support. Okay, so that's what I wanted to highlight, and I want to direct your attention towards the industry trends. I'm not going to take you through all these set of slides because we don't have time. I want to direct your attention primarily towards the internal dynamics of your chosen company. When conducting this industry analysis, I'm simply trying to define what this industry is and explain what type of trends impact this industry. So the trends are twofold, or can be divided into two main categories. One is focused on technology and one is focused on operations. So directing your attention towards technology, companies are always focusing on integrating CAD as well as scanning technologies with their 3D printers. So CAD software is changing, because if you look at CAD software, 5 years back, you had to have a technician or an individual who was conversant with utilizing the CAD software or operating the CAD software. But nowadays, anyone can utilize a CAD software because it had become user-friendly. Why is this the case? 3D printing is, the demand for 3D printing is increasing. When this is the case, if you are to really use a 3D printer in a commercial setting, you need to get your designs right via the CAD software. So you don't find, technicians or individuals who are really conversant with CAD software. So because of that, CAD software is extremely user-friendly now, so that any layman can easily, develop something or design something utilizing CAD. So there's a lot of improvement or user-friendliness when you look at CAD software. And also there's an uptake in scanning technology as well. For instance, let's assume you want to replace a part of a certain motor vehicle. So when trying to replace a part in the good olden days, let's assume a certain part is broken. So you had to, take this part to a third party traditional manufacturer, and, based on the dimensions of the part, they will end up manufacturing something, but it will not be the exact fix. So once you get a certain part manufactured, when it comes to replacing, you'd have to, do some changes to it. But that is not the case anymore, because 3D printers come with scanners. You simply need to scan the part, and once you scan it, the exact image as well as the dimensions will be replicated in the CAD software. Then you can do tweaks as and when it is necessary, and then print a certain part to the exact requirements which fits a motor vehicle without any hiccups. So there's better CAD technology, as well as there's better scanning technology out there at the moment. As well as if you look at prototyping had become faster due to 3D printing. And as I mentioned earlier, nowadays you see various different types of metals being input into 3D printers. So this had led to a fast growth in prototyping, and this helps research and development initiatives. And also 3D printers carry the capability of manufacturing more complex, accurate outputs. For instance, if you look at 3D printing in medical use, we have the opportunity of 3D printing body parts, which are extremely complex, yet which suits the exact needs of patients without any problems. So these type of benefits are there. I'm going to talk about these things in depth, because this is mentioned within one of the news articles within your pre-scene. And there's a greater use of advanced materials such as carbon fiber. So there's use of plastics, metals, as well as carbon fiber. It's in increased, the demand for carbon fiber is increasing. And also there's continued software upgrades to make sure that any layman can utilize 3D printers for their benefit. And in terms of operations, many companies have localized their production, because you need not rely on traditional third parties anymore. As and when it is necessary, you can print anything within your own premises or within your own factory. And this had led to less transport and less material waste, because compared to traditional manufacturing, when it comes to 3D printing, material waste is extremely low, because you are printing something which is to the exact specifications. So there is no wastage. So material waste is extremely low. And at the same time, there is no transportation involved, because you are printing something within your own premises. And also there's greater focus on supply resilience as well, because you are reliant on suppliers when it comes to the parts which make up a 3D printer. And at the same time, you are reliant on raw material supplies which are needed to 3D print something. So there is a greater focus on supply resilience. Major players within this industry, they try to create collaborative relationships and opt for sole sourcing agreements with suppliers, with the intention of ensuring that they have a continuous influx of parts as well as continuous influx of raw material. If not, these 3D printers are not going to work properly. And also there's a high level of importance, on quality systems and ensuring printer reliability, especially the type of printers which are used in commercial settings. For instance, if you look at 3D printers being used in the medical sector, if there's some type of defective organ manufactured by a 3D printer, then the patient will not live. Same applies to the aerospace industry. If you print something which is not to the exact requirements, or if you end up manufacturing or 3D printing a defective component or a unit, then the plane will crash. If so, you are exposed to a plethora of legal issues as well as regulatory pressures, and your share price will drop in the future. So these are the elements a 3D printer should focus on. So as you would have understood by now, there's a lot of innovation taking place within this industry, and we have to change with times. If not, we will be left behind. However, whilst innovating, we have to ensure that we always uphold quality. If not, again, it will impact us adversely. So that's all about the industry. So having said that, let's try to understand what your company is about. So as you know, this time's company's name is Kwirtmak, and looking at the general information which is contained within your pre-scene, we have been in operation for the past 34 years, which is a significant strength of the business, because when a certain company has been in operation for 30 odd years, then it leads to good reputation because everyone knows us. And at the same time, we were quoted in the year 2004. So for the past 22 years, we have operated as a quoted company. And as you know, as a quoted company, we have access to multiple sources of funding, not just debt funding. We have access to equity funding. And at the same time, as a quoted company, it leads to better reputation. It is easier for us to sell our printers to commercial clients when we are a quoted company. And when you look at our reputation, we are well known for providing high quality services when it comes to 3D printing solutions as well as after sales services. So high quality means the fact that we are in a position to charge a higher price when providing our services, because when you're offering quality, definitely you can charge a higher price. And looking at the way in which we run our business, we sell a range of 3D printers to commercial clients. So at the moment, we are only trying to fulfill the needs of commercial clients. We are not selling to individual customers such as hobbyists, because if you Google 3D printing, what you'd see is pretty basic 3D printers, which are usually used by hobbyists. We are not fulfilling the needs of this market. Instead, we are totally reliant on selling our 3D printers to commercial clients, such as the aerospace industry, jewelry industry, and whatnot. I'm going to talk about these industries in a little while. So we are selling a range of 3D printers to commercial clients. And on top of that, we provide technical support to customers, because as I mentioned earlier, if we do not provide technical support, customers won't know how to utilize the 3D printers. And whilst utilizing the 3D printer, if a customer faces some type of a hiccup, then there should be after sales services. So that's what we offer as well. And on top of that, we supply material needed for these printers. So when looking at our business, we are involved with carrying out three main activities. We sell a range of 3D printers, we provide technical support, as well as we supply material needed to run these printers. And most customers usually purchase supplies from Kwirtmak or our company, given the fact that if we are involved with providing technical support, definitely the customers are going to trust us when it comes to material input or raw material supplies as well. So these are the three main elements which we focus on when running our business. And looking at the factories, we have one factory within England, which is our home country. The currency is the e-dollar. So this is the largest factory at our disposal at the moment. And on top of that, we have three different factories in foreign countries, which indicates the fact that we are not just manufacturing locally, We are actually a global company because we have one factory within our home country, England, and at the same time, we have 3 other factories in foreign countries. And also, not just manufacturing happens in a global sense, we have a global customer base. So we are actually an international company because we manufacture both locally and internationally. And the same should be said about our sales. We sell both locally and internationally. And as a company, we are hell-bent on offering speed to our customers because, as I mentioned earlier, when it comes to manufacturing parts or components, if a customer has the capability of 3D printing a certain part, then we are offering speed because instantaneously, as and when it is necessary, you can 3D print a part within your own factory or within your own premises. So we are offering speed to our clients. And at the same time, we try to fulfill certain elements in terms of property of output. So we try to ensure accuracy. We offer accurate 3D printing solutions. We try to ensure that the finish of a 3D printed product, a component, or a part is up to the required level of standard of the customer. And at the same time, we think in terms of the strength of a product or a part which is manufactured using our 3D printers. For instance, we offer services in where you can utilize metal when it comes to carrying out your 3D printing. So that is when we are offering strength, as well as we fulfill the size related needs of our customers as well, because we are not just supplying small 3D printers. We are supplying 3D printers to the aerospace industry. And for instance, if you want to 3D print a wing, which is utilized within an aeroplane, you cannot rely on a small 3D printer. You need a huge 3D printer. So we sell all types of 3D printers, small ones as well as extremely large ones, which are used in commercial settings. And looking at the product range, we offer 4 main 3D printers. There are 5 3D printers in the market, which are used in commercial settings. Out of these 5, we are only selling 4, which are extrusion or DLP printers, SL printers, laser melting printers, as well as material jetting printers. We do not sell binder jetting printers at the moment. You will gain a clear understanding of the technicalities behind each of these 5 printer types if you watch the first pre-scene analysis video, which is available via the paid content via the student dashboard, in which I've conducted an industry analysis based on what appears within this pre-scene. Then you'd gain a clear understanding of what these printer, what these 5 printers are. But there's no hard and fast rule which says that you should gain an in-depth understanding of what we manufacture. Just having a general understanding would do, because at the exam, you are supposed to play the role of a senior finance manager, not an engineer, or you are not supposed to play a technical role. So just knowing the type of printers which we manufacture at the moment will help. So we are involved with manufacturing extrusion and DLP printers, SL printers, laser melting, and material jetting printers. And looking at the type of customers we serve at the moment, we are focusing our attention towards 4 main industries: aerospace, automotive, consumer electronics, and jewelry. So when it comes to the aerospace industry, players within this industry try to 3D print spare parts within airports itself. And this leads to a speed up of repairs because there's low waiting times, as I mentioned earlier, because traditionally, you had to rely on a third-party company to supply you with the component which you need. So you had to wait for some time. That is not necessary anymore, because within the airport itself, you can have a huge 3D printer and 3D print your parts as and when necessary. So this speeds up the repair process. So that's what we offer to the aerospace industry. And looking at the automotive industry, we fulfill the needs of luxury car manufacturers who want to manufacture switches and dashboards. So if you look at luxury cars such as Bentleys and Rolls-Royce, you would have seen that they come with, the dashboards come with intricate designs, exotic designs. You get a lot of jewels being embedded into these dashboards. So these come, it is not too easy to design them in a traditional setting and develop them in a traditional setting. That's where 3D printers come into play, because you can easily 3D print anything if you get the design right. So that's what we offer to luxury car manufacturers at the moment. And also concerning the consumer electronics industry, we help them prototype new products, because when it comes to consumer electronics, before they introduce something to the market, they have to conduct research and development, and at the R&D stage, they have to develop a prototype. That's where 3D printers come into play, as I mentioned earlier. So compared to traditional manufacturing, prototyping is extremely fast and easy. You need not waste resources such as raw material. You can quickly and or instantaneously print something within your own premises, which had sped up the prototyping process. And at the same time, looking at the jewelry sector, sometimes you have to manufacture complicated pieces. You can easily get them 3D printed rather than relying on traditional manufacturing methods. If you look at the watch manufacturing industry, which is part and parcel of the jewelry industry, it takes a lot of time. For instance, if you are manufacturing something like a Patek Philippe watch, it takes a lot of time to get all these complex parts manufactured by hand or utilizing machines. But nowadays, you can easily 3D print stuff, which has actually helped the watch industry, as well as similarly the jewelry industry. And also, when it comes to manufacturing bespoke items, you can easily get your CAD design done and get the 3D printed jewels, or you can get the jewels printed to the exact specifications of the customer. So these are the 4 industries in which we sell our 3D printers. And looking at the type of technical advice we are providing technical advice focused on 3 main elements in terms of cost, speed, and properties of object. So let's try to understand what type of technical advice we provide in terms of cost. As you know, 3D printers are expensive to purchase and operate, because we are not selling basic machine. We are selling a complex machine, which are utilized for complex manufacturing processes. Therefore, especially the type of 3D printers which are utilized in commercial settings are extremely expensive to purchase and operate. So that is why we need to provide technical support, so that we can reach out to a customer and gain an understanding of the exact needs of the customer. And then we should recommend a printer, because if we recommend the wrong printer, then the investment will be wasted. So we have to get in touch with the customer, understand the exact needs, and in order to fulfill the exact needs of the customer, we are supposed to recommend the accurate or the appropriate printer. And our 3D printers are of the highest level of quality, therefore they are expensive. So when trying to sell an expensive product to our customers, we have to ensure that we always try to satisfy customers. That's why I said that it's essential that we gain an understanding of the exact needs of customers, and based on fulfilling these needs, we have to suggest the correct printer. If not, this leads to dissatisfaction. And also, in terms of speed, this is tied to the time taken to create a certain object, and the time taken to create a certain object depends on the technology and the power of components used within a 3D printer. Again, this is where we need to provide technical advice, because a customer who wants to utilize our 3D printers will be clueless of the technology within the 3D printers, as well as the power of components. So we are aware of these elements. So that is why we have to, when providing technical advice, we have to listen to the exact needs and come up with a solution with the intention of fulfilling the cost-related needs of customers, as well as ensuring that an object can be created as per the speed-related needs of the customer. So it is our responsibility to suggest the technology to be utilized within a 3D printer, as well as the type of or the power of components to be used within a printer. And in terms of the properties of objects we offer, this should again be aligned with the customer needs. So we try to offer accuracy, finish, strength, and size, as I mentioned earlier. So in terms of accuracy, if you take two examples, engine parts versus ornaments, engine parts should carry a high level of accuracy compared to an ornament, because if you get something wrong, the engine is not going to work. So when you're dealing with players within the automotive industry, or players within consumer electronics, or players within the aerospace industry, we have to focus on fulfilling the accuracy related needs of our customers, as opposed to a customer who reaches out to us who is involved with manufacturing ornaments. So when you manufacture ornaments, accuracy is not really a concern. And similarly, in terms of finish, appearance versus functionality should be taken into consideration. So if you are manufacturing a part which is utilized within a car engine, for instance, the appearance doesn't matter. You have to focus on functionality. And in terms of strength, you can 3D print something utilizing plastic as a raw material, or you can 3D print something utilizing metal as a raw material. And in terms of size, aerospace clients need to rely on large 3D printers, whereas if you look at the jewelry sector, they rely on small 3D printers. So this is where technical advice comes into play. We need to gain an understanding of the exact needs of customers, and based on fulfilling the exact needs of customers, we have to stipulate a solution to them. And when stipulating the solution, if we provide the accurate solution, we will fulfill the cost-related needs of our customers, speed-related needs, as well as we will ensure that we will fulfill the properties of objects as well. So based on all this information, the probable exam scenarios which can be tested are in terms of risk exposure, because we are a global player. We are not just selling globally, we are manufacturing globally as well. So therefore, we are exposed to political, economic, and country risks. And also, since we are exposed to these political, economic, and country risks, we are also exposed to foreign exchange risk. And also, if we end up suggesting the wrong printer, or if the printers which we supplied are defective, then it exposes us to operational risks, and these operational risks in turn will expose us to reputation risks. And also, we are exposed to reliance on suppliers, which is a risk, because when it comes to sourcing the parts which make up a 3D printer, we are reliant on suppliers. And on top of that, when it comes to fulfilling the raw material related needs of our customers, we have to source them from specialized suppliers. So we are reliant on our suppliers, which is a risk, because if a supplier delays a supply or supplies us with low quality material or components, then it impacts the services we offer, and it impacts the quality of the printers we sell in the market. And also, this exposes us to a resource dependency risk as well, as I mentioned earlier. And also, we are exposed to legal and compliance risk when operating within a global market. When selling to a global clientele, we have to make sure that we always adhere to the local legislation. So this exposes us to legal and compliance risks. And at the exam, your knowledge concerning the identification of these various different types of risks, as well as how to manage each type of risks, will be tested. Because when it comes to managing risks, you need to stick to a 3-step approach as per what we have learned under your P3 syllabus. So the first step is to identify the risk. The second step is to categorize the risk, considering the impact and likelihood of recurrence. And based on this categorization, you are supposed to utilize the TARA framework or the TARA framework. And once you have categorized the risk, then you can come up with an appropriate mitigatory strategy. So you need to stick to these 3 steps when addressing questions to do with risk identification and mitigation at your exam. And also, there could be a situation where we are pursuing a merger or an acquisition of a supplier, or us opting for some type of a vertical integration. It could be a backward integration in which we acquire, for instance, a supplier, or it could be a forward integration in which we acquire one of our customers if it makes sense. All right. So this type of a scenario, your knowledge concerning mergers and acquisitions as well as pursuing vertical integrations will be tested at your exam. So tied to all this information, the syllabus areas which can be tested are in terms of risk identification and mitigation, as well as your capability concerning an evaluation of mergers and acquisitions or vertical integrations will be tested. Your knowledge concerning sustainability and ethics will be tested. Why is this the case? As a global player, we have to fulfill utmost levels of sustainability, as well as we have to be engaged with business in an ethical manner. If not, it will expose us to operational issues as well as reputational issues. And if so, it will end up dissatisfying our shareholders. If so, it impacts our share price negatively. And also, your knowledge concerning competitor analysis techniques will be tested, especially tied to questions to do with mergers and acquisitions or evaluating vertical integrations. All right, so that's what your company is up to. And then let's try to gain an understanding of the mission, vision, and values of your chosen company. So the mission of any given company gives us an indication about the reason for being, or tries to answer the question, why do we exist? So let's try to understand why this company exists. It exists to transform customers via the provision of innovation in design and production. So we are trying to transform our customers. So are we in a position to achieve this mission? Exactly, given the fact that we are offering 3D printing solutions. So compared to traditional manufacturing, 3D printing is totally different. It offers various different types of benefits to customers compared to traditional manufacturing. So we are in a position to transform our customers. And how are we trying to transform our customers? By offering innovation in design and production. So that's exactly what a 3D printing or a 3D printer manufacturer can achieve, because we are offering better design capabilities and production capabilities to our customers. And when our customers are exposed to better design and production capabilities, their manufacturing operations or their internal dynamics are definitely going to transform. And looking at the vision statement of any given company gives us an indication of the future of the company, or what the company intends to achieve in the future. So if you look at Kwirtmak strives to become a leader, or the leader, in additive manufacturing solutions across industries. So at the moment, we are only offering solutions to 4 main industries. So this indicates the fact that we are contemplating about expanding our footprint, thereby expanding to various different additional industries as well. So these type of scenarios can be tested at the exam, because if we want to become the leader within this industry, then we have to expand our industry, expand our footprint rather, beyond 4 industries in which we operate at the moment. And also, we try to achieve utmost levels of sustainability, which is not easy to achieve as a 3D printer or a 3D printer manufacturer. I'm going to talk about these things in a little while, but these are the things which we strive to achieve in the future. We are not number one. We are not the leader at the moment. We are only focusing on 4 different industries at the moment, but we strive to achieve leadership. And with the intention of achieving leadership, we are planning on moving into other industries. And at the same time, we are trying to achieve greater levels of sustainability. So that is our vision statement. And looking at our values, the values of any given company gives us an indication of the beliefs or the culture or the belief system of any organization. So we are focused on creating wealth and success, which is extremely good, because as a quoted company, our prime objective should be to satisfy our shareholders and take steps to improve shareholder wealth. And that is exactly what we believe in. We try to create wealth and success. So this indicates the fact that we are interested in fulfilling the needs of our shareholders, not just our shareholders, because if we end up transforming our customers, definitely they will create wealth for themselves and they will succeed within their own industry. So this first value is tied to satisfying our shareholders as well as our customers. So that's a good thing to believe in. And at the same time, we are trying to bring about innovation which are based on customer needs. So if we want to transform a customer, we need to provide innovative solutions. And in order to provide innovative solutions, the best way is to listen to your customers. So that's exactly why we focus on driving innovation based on customer needs. Again, this indicates the fact that we are hell-bent on satisfying our customers, listening to our customers, as well as addressing the exact needs of customers. And this is the lens which we have adopted, via which we are trying to drive innovation. So that's something good to have. And we try to over-deliver on our promises. I have my doubts about this because when we suggest something or when we offer something and when we try to over-deliver, it might expose us to additional costs and resource burdens. I'm going to talk about it in a little while. So I'm not too satisfied with this third value, because if we try to over-deliver, it is going to be expensive and it is going to consume a lot of resources. And in terms of the final two values, these are focused on our human resources. We trust our staff members because as a 3D printer manufacturer, we have to rely on knowledge workers. We have to rely on design staff. So it's essential that we trust our staff members, because if we trust our staff members, it leads to a high level of morale and loyalty. And at the same time, we consider our staff to be team players. So this indicates the fact that we are hell-bent on ensuring collaborative work environment, because this is where you need a team. So these two values indicate the fact that we are actually concerned about the well-being of our employees, because if we want to be innovative in the future, we have to rely on our knowledge workers. So it is better to treat them well, because if you treat them well, you are in a position to retain great talent within the company. And if you retain these individuals, then you will achieve future success without any issue. All right. So based on all this information, the overall analysis is the fact that there's a good alignment between the mission, vision, and values. Why am I saying this? Because if we achieve our values, for instance, if we create wealth and success, we are trying to fulfill the needs of our customers as well as shareholders. If we fulfill the needs of both these stakeholders, especially looking at our customers, we are in a position to transform our customers by providing innovative solutions. And when we transform customers, this leads to a higher level of loyalty, and this leads to positive word of mouth, and this will bring additional business. And additional business will ensure that we move on to different industries, and at the same time, we achieve leadership within this industry. And similarly, we try to over-deliver on promises, and we drive innovation based on addressing the exact needs of customers. Again, we are focused on satisfying our customers. And when we do so, we are in a position to transform our customers. And when we transform our customers, we are in a position to drive additional sales and achieve leadership within this industry. And when we believe in our staff members, when we treat them right, then we are retaining good talent within the company. And this will ensure that we are in a position to address the innovation-related needs of our customers by transforming them, by offering them innovative solutions. And we need employees to provide innovative solutions to each of these clients. And when this is the case, this leads to customer satisfaction. Therefore, satisfied customers will lead to positive word of mouth, then will increase sales and achieve leadership within this industry. So there's a good alignment between the mission, vision, and values of your chosen company. And values, if achieved, drives competitive advantage, because it's great to focus on our customers, focused on shareholder well-being, as well as focus on the well-being of our staff members. So if we achieve the values, it will drive competitive advantage in the future. And we are also considering about sustainability as per our vision statement. So sustainability as well as customer relationships are considered. This indicates the fact that we are focusing our attention towards upholding GRI standards or global reporting initiative standards, as well as integrated reporting standards, because as per integrated reporting or GRI, we are not supposed to only look at the financial outcomes. We have to look at non-financial outcomes as well. So that is why, as per IR or GRI, you might have heard about something called the six capitals framework. So as per the six capitals framework, we are not only supposed to report about financial performance or the way in which we utilized our financial capital. We are supposed to also inform our stakeholders about how we utilized non-financial capital and generated non-financial capital within our company. Because in this day and age, stakeholders are not just interested in the profits of a company or the financial performance. Shareholders are looking at whether a company is resilient or will be resilient in the future. So in order to be resilient in the future, on top of financial performance, you need to really focus on non-financial performance as well. So that's what we can identify by looking at the sustainability element of our vision as well as the values of the company. And we need to analyze stakeholders based on power and interest. Therefore, your knowledge concerning the Mendelow's matrix will be tested, given the fact that there's a mention of three main types of stakeholders as per our values, which are our shareholders, customers, as well as our own employees. So having said that, let's try to understand what is missing when you look at the vision, mission, and values of your chosen company. There is no mention of other stakeholders. As I mentioned earlier, there's a mention of shareholders, customers, as well as our own employees, but there is no mention of suppliers or regulators. Because if you look at the risk report of your chosen company, there are 5 main risks which have been considered. And out of these risks, 2 are focused on supply dependency and our exposure to changes in regulation. So we should have considered these 2 elements in order to come up with a foolproof vision, mission, and value system within our company. But you cannot see so. So that's a major shortcoming, because if you want to be extremely successful within this industry, you have to always fall in line with changing regulations. And at the same time, you have to think about your supply dependence risk as well. Because when you are too dependent on suppliers, if they cease to supply you on time, or if the quality of components or raw material depletes, then it impacts your business adversely. So we should have mentioned or considered about these stakeholders. And also, there is no mention of safety and reliability, because we have to ensure health and safety, or uphold health and safety when it comes to conducting our manufacturing operations. And at the same time, when it comes to our customers utilizing these 3D printers which we manufacture. So we have to ensure health and safety within our own company as well as within customers' premises. So there's no mention about it. We have not considered about it. And this appears within one of our main risks. So as mentioned previously, we should have considered this, given the fact that we have identified this risk. Therefore, we should have integrated within this element within our vision, mission, and values. And also, we have not considered about environmental concerns. We are only focusing our attention towards sustainability. We have not spoken about the environmental concerns or environmental disclosures, which are mentioned again within the risk report. So it is better to consider them and redevelop our vision, mission, and values in the future. And there is no mention of the type of collaborations which are essential to run our business, because we are dependent on our suppliers when it comes to sourcing the parts needed to manufacture the 3D printers, as well as the supplies which are utilized to 3D print something. So we should have considered about these type of collaborations. And also, we strive to achieve better levels of sustainability, but this raises the question as to whether we are actually a sustainable business, because we are operating 4 different factories, not just locally, but internationally. So this exposes us to carbon emissions, manufacturing related carbon emissions, and we are utilizing complex hardware as well as software. And this again leads to energy related emissions, and we are selling globally, and this leads to transportation related emissions. So we are exposed to energy intensive emissions as per our manufacturing and sales operations. And also when it comes to the type of raw material utilized within these 3D printers, we use plastic, metals, and various different binding agents, and these things will end up damaging the environment. And if you look at metal extraction processes, they are high. They emit a lot of emissions. So if you look at our operations and the type of raw material which are used or which we suggest to our commercial clients to 3D print something, can we say that we are actually sustainable? We cannot say that, given the fact that we are exposed to energy intensive emissions as well as extraction related emissions. On top of that, the raw materials end up damaging the environment as well. And also, are we offering unrealistic customer expectations? Because I mentioned the fact that we are trying to over deliver on our promises. As per the risk report of your chosen company, we are exposed to volatile sales demand, which is one of our main risks. And we are totally dependent on our suppliers, and we are exposed to technical complexity as well. So when we are exposed to these type of issues, should we try to over promise or over deliver? Trying to over deliver leads to higher service costs, as I mentioned earlier, and this will create a pressure on our staff and our internal systems. So it is, not best to over deliver, especially given the fact that we are dependent on our suppliers, we are exposed to volatile sales demand, and we are exposed to a technically complex business process. So tied to all this information, the probable exam scenarios which can be tested are in terms of evaluating strategic options. So when evaluating strategic options, your knowledge concerning the SAF framework will be tested. Or another angle is a situation where you are supposed to evaluate a strategic option considering the mission, vision, and values of your chosen company. So in both instances, you need to have a good understanding of the existing vision, mission, and values of your chosen company, especially if you look at the SAF framework, which is a widely used framework when it comes to evaluating a strategic option. Under the suitability element, you should, when conducting your evaluation, you should consider whether a certain strategic option is aligned with the existing vision, mission, values, and the business model of your chosen company. So under the suitability element of the SAF framework, as well as the examiner might directly ask you to evaluate a strategic option just considering the vision, mission, and values. So in both these type of questions, your knowledge concerning the existing vision, mission, and values of your chosen company will be tested. And also, you should be able to suggest internal controls which are tied to quality and achieving sustainability in operations, achieving innovation, ensuring safety, risk management, because we are exposed to various different types of risks as a manufacturer of 3D printers. So you should have the capability of managing each type of risk, which are aligned with our business dynamics. And we have to be involved with ethical business practices, given the fact that we are a quoted company. And also your knowledge concerning stakeholder management, concerning the Mendelow's matrix, will be tested at your exam. Okay, so that's your vision, mission, and values. And then let's try to understand about board dynamics. I'm not going to take you through all this information because it's going to take a lot of time. Simply, go through this annotated pre-scene and watch the 4 pre-scene analysis videos which are already on our website under the paid content. Then you'd gain a good understanding of what is contained or about the capabilities as well as shortcomings of our board members. I want to direct your attention towards board responsibilities because this is a heavily tested area. So if you look at how our board is structured, there's a CEO who provides leadership, and then there are 4 different directors who are working under the CEO. So our entire organization is divided into 4 main parts: operations, technical elements, finance, as well as marketing. So if you look at the marketing director, this individual is involved with marketing initiatives, customer service, and conducting PR. So this is aligned with the routine responsibilities carried out by a marketing director. The same could be said about the CFO, because this individual is looking into financial reporting, management accounting, and conducting treasury or managing treasury functions. Again, typical of a CFO. And looking at the CTO, this individual is involved with conducting research and product development work, because as I mentioned earlier, we are operating in an innovative industry. So if we want to be competitive, we have to always keep changing ourselves. So that is why we have to spend a considerable amount of money on research and product development. We have to keep innovating as a manufacturer of 3D printers. So, that's typical of responsibilities carried out by a CTO. However, if you look at the operations director is looking into multiple angles. So this individual is supposed to manage factory operations, look into CAD software, manage human resources, ensure health and safety, as well as look into sustainability. So there's too much when it comes to the responsibilities of the operations director. So, a typical operations director will look at factory operations, ensure health and safety and sustainability. But when this individual has to look into HR management as well as CAD software related elements, then this indicates the fact that the operations director might be overburdened. And especially looking at CAD software, it raises the question as to whether CAD software should actually be under the operations director or the CTO. Because when you look at the CAD software, as I mentioned earlier, you need to keep changing the CAD software to make it user-friendly as much as possible. So that is what that should be achieved at the when it comes to research and development initiatives. So since the CTO is conducting research elements or providing leadership to research elements, it makes sense to ensure that the same individual is managing affairs in terms of changing or upgrading the CAD software. So rather than the operations director looking into these affairs, I think it makes sense if these responsibilities are transferred to the CTO. So that's exactly what I've highlighted here. And looking at the skills and capabilities as well as the responsibilities of our executive directors, we do not see someone who is looking into cybersecurity and data privacy, which is extremely crucial considering the industry dynamics. Because when we are providing solutions to a commercial client, as I mentioned earlier, we have to ensure that we implement some type of software, such as a CAD software. So our clients will end up feeding confidential design data into this CAD software. And if due to our CAD software's some type of a fault within our CAD software, if a client is exposed to a data breach, then the customer is definitely going to sue us, because some third party might gain access to confidential design data just because the CAD software had some security vulnerabilities. So there should be someone who is looking into ensuring data security or cybersecurity and data privacy, but there is none within our board who comes from this type of a background, and at the same time who is supposed to provide leadership concerning this matter. And that is probably why there is no mention about cybersecurity or data privacy risks within the current risk report of your company. I'm going to direct your attention towards the risk report, then you'd understand what this logic is all about. So for now, understand the fact that there is none within our board who comes from a cybersecurity or data privacy background. And at the same time, there is no one looking into these affairs, thereby highlighting the fact that there is a gap in strategic leadership concerning cybersecurity and data privacy within our organization. And it is extremely crucial that we look into these affairs, given the fact that we are offering, not just 3D printing solutions, but the technologies aligned with 3D printing, which includes something like CAD software. So it's essential that we look into these affairs. So we have missed out on these elements in terms of strategic leadership. Also, there is no one who is looking into supply chain management. As I mentioned earlier, as per what's highlighted within your own risk report of your chosen company, we are exposed to supply dependency risk. So this highlights the fact that it's essential that we manage our supply networks, to ensure that we manage relationships or manage collaborative relationships with suppliers to ensure consistent supply. However, there's no one who is looking into these affairs within our board, which is a major shortcoming. And also, we are exposed to compliance risk, legal risks, especially given the fact that we are manufacturing across the world, we are selling across the world. However, there is no one looking into these affairs. And these are important risks which we are supposed to manage. So definitely, these type of shortcomings are there with a purpose, because these elements, these type of scenarios which are based on these shortcomings will be tested at the exam. So at the exam, you should be able to deal with questions tied to managing system incompatibilities due to a lack of leadership in these areas concerning our systems. Definitely we will be exposed to system incompatibilities, especially when we are offering our solutions to our customers, because customers already have their legacy systems within their organization, and we have to integrate our own software which is tied to the 3D printers to these legacy systems. When trying to do so, customers might be exposed to system incompatibilities. So your knowledge concerning these areas, how to manage these incompatibilities, will be tested. And also managing the internal business environment. We are supposed to be an innovative company operating within an innovative industry. So definitely we have to constantly change ourselves, and you should understand how these changes will impact the existing business environment of your chosen company. So be prepared to conduct evaluations concerning these areas, and also how it impacts our business ecosystem, because we are not managing affairs on our own. We are dependent on so many stakeholders, especially our suppliers. So whenever we try to do something new within our company, we have to be considerate about how these changes are going to change the business ecosystem. And therefore, your knowledge concerning how to manage change or change management techniques will be tested. And when it comes to managing change, you need to manage stakeholder relationships as well. Again, therefore, your knowledge concerning stakeholder management will be tested. And when we're trying to change something, some employees might, we have to impose internal controls, and some employees might not adhere to these internal controls. If so, we have to take disciplinary action against them. So you should know how to take disciplinary action in the most successful and ethical manner. And also your knowledge concerning the appointment of a new director or a manager can be tested, tied to risk management related leadership, cybersecurity and privacy related leadership, supply chain management leadership, or legal or compliance related leadership. So expect a question which is focused on appointing a manager or a director who is looking into these 4 different angles. And there could also be a question tied to appointment of a new board committee, such as something which looks into cybersecurity. Okay, so these are your board responsibilities. And I want to also direct your attention towards board committees, which is again a heavily tested area. So if you look at the number of committees, there are 4 committees, and one is focused on audit, the other is focused on risk and CSR, and the remaining 2 are focused on remuneration and nomination. So let's try to understand the responsibilities of board committees and why board committees are there within any given organization. So the board committees usually comprise of non-executive directors. And let's try to understand the role of non-executive directors. So the executive directors of any given organization are supposed to be involved with the daily running of the business and provide strategic leadership. So the shareholders of any company are the owners of the company. However, all shareholders cannot be involved with the daily running of a business. That is why you appoint a set of directors which make up the board of directors. So the board of directors are agents who are supposed to run the business on behalf of the shareholders. So the executive directors have a lot of power, although they are supposed to operate as the agents of the shareholders. Given their level of power, they can do whatever they want with the intention of fulfilling their own needs. That is why non-executive directors are appointed to a board, because the non-executive directors are not involved with the daily operations of a business. Instead, they are supposed to play a supervisory role. They are supposed to supervise the executive directors, and if they spot that a certain executive director or a set of executive directors are doing something wrong which goes against shareholder interest, then these non-execs are supposed to keep the shareholders informed, because then when the shareholders are informed, they can take action against these directors, and as and when necessary, they can get rid of these directors. So these are the responsibilities of execs and non-executive directors. And board committees are formed with the intention of keeping tabs about the performance of executive directors to ensure the future success of any given company. So in order to ensure future success, we have to think about the control environment of an organization. Because without controls, however much successful you are when it comes to coming up with plans, if you do not have proper controls, you are not in a position to implement your decisions in the most successful manner. And without controls, employees can do anything they want. Without controls, the board members can, as well as the management of a company, can do anything they want. So that is why an audit committee is there. The audit committee's prime responsibility is to set the control environment, and therefore they are involved with appointing the chief internal auditor and setting up the internal audit department of the company. So that's the responsibility of the audit committee. Therefore, as per corporate governance best practices, 100% of members within the audit committee should be non-executive directors, because when it comes to setting the control environment, you should not get executive directors involved. Instead, as I mentioned earlier, non-execs are supposed to provide a supervisory role. They are supposed to represent shareholder interests within the board. So these are the type of individuals who should make up the audit committee, and therefore come up with or set up the internal audit department and set up the internal controls within any given company. So that's what the responsibility of the audit committee is. And looking at the remuneration committee, the remuneration committee's responsibility is to determine the perks as well as compensation of, or the remuneration of executive directors. Because if we let executive directors decide their own salaries, they will pay themselves fat cat benefits. So in order to avoid such a scenario, as per corporate governance best practices, any given quoted company should have their own remuneration committee, and the membership of this remuneration committee should be 50%, at least 50% of remuneration committee's members should be non-executive directors. As I mentioned earlier, non-execs are supposed to represent shareholder interests within the board. So these non-execs are supposed to determine, based on the performance of each and every director, how much of a salary they should get, as well as various different perks they should get when running affairs within the business. So that's a responsibility of the remuneration committee. And looking at the nomination committee, the nomination committee is supposed to nominate individuals to the board as and when necessary. So what you need to understand is the fact that any board member it could be an executive director, it could be a non-executive director. Any board member has no power to appoint anyone to the board. The power lies with shareholders. However, the nomination committee's responsibility is to nominate appropriate individuals as and when necessary. So let's assume we are getting rid of a certain board member, so we have to replace this individual with someone else. So when it comes to the replacement, the nomination committee's responsibility is to nominate 3 or 4 individuals who are capable of carrying out the job, and it is up to, as per these recommendations or the nominations provided by the nomination committee, it is up to the shareholders to go for a vote and select the best individual. Why is this the case? Because shareholders are the owners, so the owners must have a say when it comes to appointing a board member. So board appointments are not handled by the nomination committee. Instead, they nominate individuals as and when a board position comes up. And just like the remuneration committee, nomination committees, if you look at the membership should be at least 50% non-executive directors, because non-execs are supposed to represent shareholder interests when it comes to nominating folks to the board. And looking at the risk and CSR committee, the prime responsibility of this committee is to keep tabs about the risk exposure of the company, and therefore maintain and update the risk report. So you can see a risk report within this organization, which comprise of 5 main risks, and developing this risk report and maintaining this risk report is the prime responsibility of the risk committee. And the same committee looks into CSR as well, because when operating within this industry, we are supposed to achieve better sustainability. That is what's mentioned within our vision as well. So if we are to achieve better sustainability, first things first, we have to achieve corporate social responsibility, or we have to behave in a socially responsible manner. So these are the things which are looked into by board committees. So these are the 4 board committees within our organization. So the strengths are the fact that non-executive directors dominate all committees. So we are falling in line with corporate governance best practices, and the chief internal auditor reports to the audit committee. Again, this is aligned with corporate governance best practices. And in terms of experience, the non-executive chair, as per what's highlighted in this part of your pre-scene document, which I've evaluated in here, I don't have time to take you through all this information. So as per the information presented in this pre-scene, the non-executive chair has audit committee experience, so that's something good to have. However, this non-executive chair should not be in the audit committee as per corporate governance best practices, because as per the combined code of corporate governance, audit committee's membership should be 100% non-executive directors. So the non-executive chair should not be part and parcel of the audit committee, but you see that within this organization. So this is a governance weakness. And in talking about experience, getting back to experience, Ada, one of our senior independent directors, come from an economics and banking background, which is aligned with what happens within an audit committee. And looking at the weaknesses, the non-executive chair should not be in the audit committee, as I mentioned earlier. This exposes us to governance risks, and also there's a skill gap within our board committees, as well as because these board committees comprise of non-executive directors. This highlight a skill gap within our non-executive directors, because there's none who comes from a technology related background, there's none who comes from a cybersecurity background, supply chain background, sustainability, HR, or compliance background. So I highlighted that there is no strategic leadership concerning these affairs at board level, because you don't see any executive directors who are looking into these matters. Similarly, there aren't any non-executive directors who are well versed with these matters. So this is a major governance gap within our organization. So based on this, various different scenarios will be thrown at you at your exam. And looking at the workload, each member works in 3 different committees. So at the moment, things look totally fine, because a typical non-executive director usually works in 2 or 3 committees concurrently. But at your exam, if the examiner expects to test your knowledge about how to deal with an appointment of a new board committee, then the workload of these existing committee members will increase, because at the moment these committee members are supposed to, they are working in at least 3 board committees. But if you appoint a new board committee, then they'd have to work in this 4th one as well, which increases their workload, which is not too good. In such a scenario, it makes sense to appoint a new non-executive director with the intention of easing the burden. And at the same time, if you look at the split between executive and non-executive directors, there are 5 executive directors within this company and just 4 non-executive directors. I've mentioned it here. There's an imbalance between executive directors and independent non-executive directors, because as per corporate governance best practices, there should be a good balance between executives and non-executives within the board. Why is this the case? Because as I mentioned earlier, execs are supposed to be the agents of shareholders, but when they have too much power, they can dictate terms and ensure that they fulfill their own needs rather than fulfilling the needs of shareholders. So that's where the non-execs come into play. The non-execs are supposed to represent shareholder interests within the board. So when you have a lesser number of non-executive directors, the executive directors are overpowering non-execs. So shareholder interests might be compromised in such a scenario. So this exposes us to governance risk and goes against the corporate governance best practices. So there could be a situation where the board is, the company is rather contemplating about appointing an exec versus a non-executive director. So when building your arguments, you have to consider this point as well. Okay, you'd gain a better understanding when I take you through mock exams via the master classes as well as via the upcoming webinars and workshops. Then you'd realize how to integrate these elements into your answers. So having said that, I want to direct your attention towards the risk report as well. I'm not going to focus on all 5 risks. I simply want to direct your attention towards one single risk so that you understand how to utilize this risk report. So as per the evaluated, as per the stated risks, we are exposed to global economic risk. So we are trading globally. So we are exposed to inflation, interest rate changes, and wider macroeconomic instability, which can impact both our suppliers as well as customers. So we are selling in a global setting. So when we are selling globally, we are exposed to the inflation rates in an international setting. And also we are exposed to various different interest rates within various different countries. And if there's some type of macroeconomic instability in one of the countries in which we operate, then it impacts our margins in an adverse manner. So not just our customers, we are not just exposed to these issues tied to customer relationships. We are exposed to these issues tied to supply relationships, because let's assume we are getting supplies from a certain country, and this country is exposed to high inflation, and this in turn will impact the cost of the raw material which we source from this country. And when this is the case, we will have to charge a high price from our customers, and the customers will not be really satisfied when their margins are impacted adversely. So this might impact our sales. So we are exposed to this risk, and the current mitigation in place within our company is the fact that the Treasury Department monitors economic trends and recommend mitigation strategies. So they are involved with a monitoring process, and as per their understanding, they come up with mitigatory strategies, and they also pay attention to minimizing operational costs or operating costs as much as possible. So my assessment is the fact that the mitigation is relevant. It's good that the Treasury Department is trying to handle affairs, but this is too broad and reactive. Why am I saying it? Because the Treasury Department's response focuses on observing the risk, then structurally reducing the risk exposure. So as per our risk report, our Treasury Department is hell-bent on monitoring economic trends. Rather than monitoring, their prime responsibility is to ensure that they come up with foolproof mitigatory strategies, and such mitigatory strategies which they have identified should be included within the risk report, so that all stakeholders, especially the management of Kwirtmak know how to deal with these type of macroeconomic issues. So there's no mention about such strategies within our risk report. Instead, it highlights the fact that our Treasury Department is observing risk exposure, and macroeconomic issues already has impacted our performance, because if you look at our financial statements, our revenues have dipped by 19%, which had led to a dip in profitability. So let me quickly take you to the statement of profit and loss. As you can see, our revenues between the years 2025 and 2026 has dipped by 19%. The same should be said about our profits as well. Our profits have dipped by 29%. So this indicates the fact that we are exposed to major financial issues in terms of revenues and profitability. So, when this is the case, when we are just observing macroeconomic risk exposure, it is not going to help. We might be exposed to further issues in the future. And also, we were faced with a currency loss in the year 2026, as per the statement of changes in equity. If you look at our our currency reserve fell by 17% due to a currency loss, which indicates the fact that we are exposed to adverse foreign exchange movements given our global footprint, because we are manufacturing globally as well as we are selling globally. So it's of utmost importance that our Treasury Department take a proactive stance rather than trying to be reactive, rather than simply looking into trying to observe affairs. So the enhancements, so when there is a shortcoming, you should have the capability of suggesting enhancements as well. So the type of enhancements which I'm suggesting is to use scenario planning, so that we come up with various different scenarios considering various different inflation rates, interest rates, and macroeconomic issues. And these scenario plans should be backed with early warning indicators, and we have to stress test each market in which we operate to see whether, if inflation rate increases by this percentage, how is it going to impact our costs as well as our margins and whatnot. These type of what if analysis as well as scenario planning should be conducted within each of the markets we operate. And also, we have to depend on currency and interest rate hedging techniques where appropriate, which should include natural hedging. So we should have mentioned these things within the risk report. Since there is no mention, be prepared to suggest better mitigatory strategies when you are dealing with questions to do with global economic risk exposure. And we might have to adopt flexible pricing, especially when dealing with customers which are located within countries which are exposed to extreme levels of inflation or adverse macro economic factors. And also, we have to link macroeconomic monitoring to operational planning. So if we do so, we are in a position to manage our inventories properly, because if we do not manage our inventories, then it will impact our cash flows as well as our bottom line in a negative manner. So it's essential that we improve our macroeconomic monitoring processes, so that we get we manage our inventory properly, we get our forecasts right, and we take better investment decisions. So you should have the capability of evaluating each type of risk highlighted within your risk report, understanding the shortcomings, and based on these shortcomings, come up with appropriate foolproof mitigatory strategies with the intention of insulating us against the 5 different risks highlighted within the risk report. So I took you through the first risk. I ask you to watch the pre-scene analysis videos and read through this annotated pre-scene on your own to figure out the evaluations which I've conducted concerning the remaining 4 risks. I also want to direct your attention towards notable gaps within this risk report, because at the examiner is not just testing whether you are capable of evaluating the identified risks. The examiner is also trying to figure out whether you are in a position to identify risks which are not mentioned within the current risk report. So that's why you have to have a good understanding of notable gaps concerning what's highlighted within the risk report. So you need to have a good understanding of the internal and external dynamics of your company, and you should connect this knowledge with the existing risk report to figure out notable gaps. And I've highlighted different types of notable gaps which should have appeared within the risk report, but unfortunately it is not there. Therefore, these type of questions will be thrown at you at your real exam. So there is no mention about cybersecurity and data privacy risk, as I mentioned earlier, because we are heavily dependent on software, CAD interfaces, digital design files, and although this is the case, there's no cybersecurity or data privacy risks. These risks are not disclosed within your risk report. We have the operations director who is looking into product development, who is looking into CAD software. And when it comes to product development, the CTO is looking into these affairs. But as I mentioned earlier, there's none looking into cybersecurity and data governance or data privacy. So why it matters is the fact that we are dealing with CAD files, confidential design data of our customers who end up utilizing our solutions. So it's essential that we uphold utmost levels of cybersecurity and data privacy, because if you are exposed to a cyber attack or a data breach, this disrupts operations within the client's premises, as well as this compromises customers' confidential information, and therefore it impacts our product reliability and trust in an adverse manner. So the recommendations with the intention of ensuring that we deal with this risk in a foolproof manner is to identify cybersecurity and data governance as a principal risk within our risk register. And with the intention of managing this risk appropriately, we have to assign clear ownership. And also we have to take steps to strengthen access controls concerning who has access to confidential information. We have to come up with proper firewalls and whatnot, thereby ensuring software security. We have to come up with incident response plans so that whenever we are exposed to a cybersecurity issue, whenever our customers are exposed to a cybersecurity issue, they know how to respond to such a situation, whom to communicate with, whom to contact. All these things are part and parcel of an incident response plan. And we have to ensure that we invest on encryption systems with the intention of hiding our source codes, hiding our confidential information. And also we have to make sure that we take assurances from our suppliers about the fact that they uphold cybersecurity within their own companies. Because definitely when we are dealing with suppliers, given the fact that we are exposed to supply dependency risk, we will have to connect our own systems with suppliers' software. And if the supplier is exposed to a data breach due to some type of a security vulnerability within their own systems, it might expose us to the same type of threats or data breaches. So it's essential that we ensure that we uphold cybersecurity and data privacy, not just within our company, not just within our customers' organizations, but we have to ensure that our suppliers uphold the same level of standards to insulate us against cybersecurity or data privacy risk. So, these type of arguments, you are expected to build these type of arguments at your exam, given the fact that this is a notable gap. So likewise, there are various different notable gaps. I don't have time to take you through all this information because I intend to direct your attention towards the final news article to highlight how your knowledge can be tested and what type of scenarios will be thrown at you at your exam. So this is a news article taken from Inland Daily, and this article highlights information of use of 3D printing. So doctors and dentists use 3D printing to create bespoke parts such as replacements of worn out heart valves, as well as creating artificial limbs. And whenever 3D printing is used in a medical setting, these 3D printed body parts should be of perfect fit, should be free from any type of defects and should be made out of raw materials which are EHS or Inlandian Health Service. They should have the EHS approval or the Inlandian Health Service approval, because we are dealing with body parts. You cannot just 3D print them utilizing any type of raw material out there. Instead, you have to ensure that all types of raw material are vetted and approved by the EHS. And what is the process involved with utilizing 3D printing in a medical setting? Technicians enter details to the CAD software, and when it comes to designing them, guidance is provided by medical experts, because technicians are well versed with operating the CAD software, but you need, when it comes to 3D printing medical items, especially body parts, you need the guidance of medical experts as well. So these two stakeholders come together when it comes to designing an artificial limb or any body part using 3D printing or using CAD software. And once the design is finalized, a 3D printer creates the final body part. And the benefits of using 3D printing within this industry is the fact that 3D printed body parts are accurate compared to traditional, artificial limbs and whatnot. And this leads to faster treatment, because rather than relying on a third-party supplier, a hospital, for instance, can design an artificial limb and manufacture an artificial limb within the hospital premises as well. So you can provide accurate and faster treatment to patients. Because in the good olden days, once an issue is diagnosed, you have to place an order and wait until a third party manufactures an artificial limb, and you have to wait until it is transported to your hospital premises. This is not necessary anymore, because as and when necessary, doctors can 3D print body parts and ensure that they offer instantaneous treatment to their clients or their patients. And as I mentioned earlier, the material used should be approved by the EHS as per this news article. So tied to all this information, the possible exam scenarios which can be tested is with regards to us expanding into medical 3D printing, because as I mentioned earlier, at the moment, we are only operating within 4 different industries: aerospace, automotive, consumer electronics, and jewelry. So we can expand into medical 3D printing as well. Definitely, this type of scenario will be tested at your exam. And also when pursuing this type of an expansion, we can opt for mergers and acquisitions with a medical device manufacturer, or it could be us merging or acquiring a software developer, or us merging with or acquiring a hospital group. And when operating within this type of an industry, there could be a situation where we are exposed to some type of a product failure, because we have to make sure that the 3D printed products are to the exact requirement and quality standards. If not, the patient might die. So definitely, there will be a scenario which is tied to some type of product failure, which exposes us to reputational risks, legal risks, as well as regulatory risks. There could be a situation or a scenario where we end up 3D printing something which is made out of material which is not EHS vetted or approved. If so, we are exposed to regulatory risks. And there could be situations where the regulations change as well. If so, we have to change our disclosure requirements. And with regulations changing, we are exposed to regulatory risks. And also, when regulations change, we are supposed to be involved with or engaged with corporate political activity. So as you know, under CPA, there are 2 main activities which you can carry out. You can opt for a bridging strategy, or you can opt for a lobbying strategy. A bridging strategy is a situation where you keep tabs about changing regulations, and before the regulation changes, you take steps to change your internal dynamics with the intention of falling in line with future regulatory changes. So that's a bridging strategy. We try to bridge our internal dynamics with the changing regulatory landscape. So that's bridging. And alternatively, we can go for lobbying. Lobbying is a situation where we try to influence lawmakers with the intention of changing laws. So if we feel that a certain law is going to change in the future and this is going to impact us negatively, then we can opt for lobbying. But when carrying out lobbying, we have to do it in an ethical manner, because laws and regulations are meant to protect customers as well as the general public. But when we try to change these type of changes to regulations by opting for lobbying, we are actually considering our own interests. We are not considering the interests of the general public or our customers. So that is why we can conduct lobbying, but if we are doing so, we have to do it in an ethical manner. And also your knowledge concerning ethics tied to social benefit of 3D printing being used within this medical profession versus access, because for instance, 3D printed limbs, artificial limbs, are going to be expensive compared to traditionally manufactured limbs. So this raises the question as to whether we are actually fulfilling the needs of this entire industry, because only those who can afford 3D printed artificial limbs will end up purchasing them. So this restricts access of our services, because 3D printing is going to be extremely beneficial within this industry, going to offer a lot of benefits to patients. But are we in a position to offer our services to all different types of patients? Because most patients will have to end up utilizing artificial limbs which are traditionally manufactured, given the fact that 3D printed artificial limbs are definitely going to be expensive. So there's an ethical angle to it, which can be tested at your exam. So tied to all this information, the syllabus areas which can be tested are in terms of scenario planning, because this is a strategic option at our disposal, because we are not operating within this industry. We are trying to move into this industry. So when you are supposed to evaluate this type of a strategic option, your knowledge concerning scenario planning as well as the essay framework will be tested, because as you know, under the essay framework, you are supposed to look at suitability, acceptability, and feasibility. Under suitability, you are supposed to look at whether a certain strategic option is aligned with the vision, mission, and values, or as well as the current business model of our chosen company. Under acceptability, you are supposed to look at whether a certain strategic option is aligned with the main stakeholder needs of our company. And under feasibility, you are supposed to look at whether a certain strategic option is aligned with the financial as well as non-financial resources of your chosen company. So that's the essay framework. Alternatively, you can utilize the scenario planning framework with the intention of evaluating a strategic option, in which you are supposed to consider at least three scenarios: a best case scenario, a worst case scenario, and the most practical or the most probable scenario. So that's how we are supposed to evaluate this type of an expansion drive. And also, since we are supposed to deal with a new set of stakeholders when expanding into this industry, your knowledge concerning Mendelow's matrix will be tested, because you should have the capability of categorizing each type of stakeholders, considering the level of power and interest, and then take appropriate measures to manage each type of stakeholder group as per the Mendelow's matrix. And when moving into this industry, we will have to come up with bespoke 3D printing solutions. So your knowledge concerning investments or funding options will be tested, which these type of questions are intended to test your knowledge concerning debt and equity funding. And considering the add-ons to your syllabus, green financing is another option at our disposal. So this will be added on top of traditional debt and equity funding, which we have access to. We also have access to green funding. We can opt for green bonds or green securities. So both these elements can be tested at your exam. And when we are opting for this expansion, it will change our business ecosystem. So you should have the capability of dealing with these changes to the business ecosystem. Also, your knowledge concerning change management techniques will be tested. And if you opt for some type of a merger or acquisition with the intention of moving into this industry, you should know how these mergers and acquisitions are going to impact our share price as well as stakeholder relationships. And you should also know how to conduct merger or acquisition negotiations in a foolproof manner. And also your knowledge concerning competitor analysis methodologies will be tested, along with various different company valuation techniques, because when you are trying to acquire a company or merge with a company, you have to value that company. So your knowledge concerning different valuation techniques will be tested. And also your knowledge concerning risk identification and mitigation, because when we are trying to move into a new industry, we are exposed to additional risks. So definitely you should have the capability of identifying these risks as per what's highlighted within the unseen, and also come up with appropriate mitigatory strategies. When doing so, you need to stick to a three-step approach as per what I highlighted at the very beginning of this session. And also when we are exposed to additional set of risks, you should know how it will impact our share price as well as stakeholder relationships. And also you should know what to do in terms of updating the risk register, because when we are moving into this new industry, if we are exposed to additional risks, we have to update the risk register. So you should know how to do this in a practical manner. And also you should have the capability to suggest internal controls with the intention of preventing our risk exposure when operating within this new market. And also your knowledge concerning internal audit responsibilities, what the internal audit should look into when operating within a new industry. All these things can be tested. And in an overall sense, your knowledge concerning conducting business in an ethical manner, as well as falling in line with corporate governance best practices, and how to deal with corporate political activity, especially if we opt for lobbying, how to do it in an ethical manner will be tested at your exam. Okay, so what I wanted to highlight is the fact that these news articles are giving us a glimpse into what type of scenarios can be thrown at you at your exam. And you should have an understanding of, based on these scenarios, what type of syllabus areas can be tested. And when developing our 7 mock exams, we have made sure to cover all these elements so that you'd gain a better understanding of what type of scenarios, and aligned to these scenarios, what type of syllabus areas can be tested at your exam. So given a time constraint, I cannot take you through the entire pre-seen document. Unfortunately, I wanted to simply direct your attention towards the most important points. And I invite you to watch the 4 pre-seen analysis videos which are available on our website under the paid content. And after watching these pre-seen analysis videos, I want you to read through this annotated pre-seen so that you'd gain a clearer understanding of the internals and externals of your chosen company. So having said that, I want to highlight how to deal with pre-seen application when it comes to developing your answers. So if you are to apply pre-seen information or consider pre-seen information when developing your answers, first things first, you need to know your key information. For instance, you should have a sound understanding of the principal risks of your chosen company. So that is where the pre-seen analysis videos as well as the annotated pre-seen comes into play. Because when you have access to this annotated pre-seen, you saw how easy it is for you to gain a clear understanding of the most important points highlighted within the pre-seen. And as part of these annotations, we have conducted evaluations as well. And when you have access to all this information, you need not worry about having to analyze the pre-seen on your own. We have actually done it for you. And similarly, after this session, I'm going to share this pre-seen mind map with you. As you can see, this covers all elements contained within the pre-seen, highlighting the most important points. So there's an indication of what happens within the industry, the type of printers manufactured within this industry, the type of materials used, as well as the benefits of 3D printing, and then also information concerning the internal dynamics, the history, as well as the type of products and services offered by your chosen company, the mission, vision, and values, governance related information, what is contained within the sustainability report, as well as the risk report, as well as what's contained within the news articles and what is contained within your financial statements. All these things are shared with you as a synopsis via this pre-seen mind map. So this, if you go through this pre-seen mind map on a continuous basis, you will know your key information by heart on the day of your exam. Also, it's essential that you know your numbers because you are supposed to play the role of a senior finance manager. So you have to have a good understanding of what appears within the financial statements of your chosen company. So that's why we have shared a set of slides, thereby conducting a financial analysis. So we have evaluated each financial statement, making sure to keep things simple so that you can gain a clear understanding of the financial standing of your company, because as an SFM who is reporting to the CFO, it's essential that you understand these things and integrate this information as and when necessary when developing your answers. And you should be conversant with the ratios as well. So you need not work out these numbers on your own and evaluate on your own. Again, we have done it for you. We have compared your performance against your closest competitor so that you know the real financial standing of your chosen company. So that's the second thing which you need to cover. Again, we have covered it for you. And whenever you are including pre-seen information, you have to refer or cite pre-seen info in such a way that it adds value to your answer. There's absolutely no point of simply including general information taken from the pre-seen unless and otherwise it adds value. Because when marking papers, especially when marking papers of those who are coming through exemption routes, there's a tendency for students to include an introductory paragraph which consists of pre-seen info, because students think that just because they have included some general information about the company which is taken from the pre-seen, they are going to get marks. However, that is not ever going to be the case, because as I mentioned in the first webinar, the examiner is trying to replicate a real-life corporate environment. So in a real-life corporate environment, when you are responding to someone, are you going to talk about the type of printers we manufacture at the moment? So let's assume you receive an email from the CFO. So before you respond or address the requirement, you come up with an introductory paragraph in which you mention the fact that Kwirtmak has been in operation for the past 34 years, and we were listed in the stock exchange in the year 2004. And since then, we are into manufacturing 4 different printers, and we are operating in 4 different industries. So you can mention this type of information, but is it going to add value? Because the CFO who sent you the email is already aware of the fact that we have been in operation for 3 decades. We have been listed for the past 22 years. We are manufacturing 4 different types of printers, and the fact that we are operating in 4 different types of industries. So just because you include generic info, you are not going to get any marks at your exam. Instead, the examiner will actually deduct marks because you do not know how to operate in a real-life corporate setting. Because at office, when responding to an email, you are not going to talk about your history of your company unnecessarily. Instead, let's assume there's a question to do with funding options. And when dealing with funding options, you need to work out or conduct your evaluations based on a gearing ratio. So when conducting your evaluations based on a gearing ratio, you need to rework a post-investment gearing. And when you rework a post-investment gearing, you have to refer to the financial statements of your company. That's how you should deal with pre-seen application. And also, if there's a question tied to how a certain problem is going to impact our share price, you should know about the fact that our beta is 2.3, which indicates the fact that our share price is extremely volatile. That is why if you look at our share price information as per this pre-seen, let me quickly take you to this area. If you look at this share price information, if you look at this graph or share price chart rather, you can see that there are large spikes and collapses. All of a sudden the share price increases, but within a month it collapses. So this indicates the fact that our shares are highly volatile. Why is this the case? Our beta is 2.3. So if there is bad news, our share price is gonna drop significantly. If there's good news, our share price is going to increase significantly. So that's exactly what you can see in here. When you look at the large spikes, you can see that all of a sudden within the day itself, the share price has increased in almost all occasions. Okay, so if we are exposed to some type of an issue, and if you're supposed to evaluate about how it is going to impact the share price of the company, you should mention about our beta. And also, it makes sense to mention about if there's a question tied to dividend payment. So let's assume we are planning to call off a dividend. So when we are trying to call off a dividend, you are supposed to talk about how it is going to impact relationships with our shareholders. So when talking about these type of relationships, you should talk about the already low share price, because if we end up dissatisfying our shareholders by calling off a dividend, the share price is already in the doldrums. It might dip further, and on top of that, the share price, as per our beta, is poised to react to bad news adversely. So this is not going to help us when we are operating with a beta of 2.3, which is extremely high. When we say that we are not going to pay a dividend, then it will lead to our shareholders selling the share. And at the same time, you can also talk about the revenue drop as well, because our revenues have dropped by 19%. Our profits have dropped by 29%. When this is the case, when we take steps to call off a dividend, it will further dissatisfy shareholders, because they have invested on a business in which the profits are decreasing. When this is the case, they expect some kind of a return. So the share price is dropping, the profits are dropping. On top of that, when we call off a dividend, it will dissatisfy our shareholders. So these type of arguments, you should have the capability of developing these type of arguments. And in order to do so, you need to have a sound understanding of what appears within the pre-scene, as well as what you have learned via E3, F3, and P3. So that's why I said that this in the first webinar, in last week's webinar, I mentioned the fact that this is a highly practical exam. So if you're clueless of your theories, you're not going to pass. And at the same time, if you're clueless of what appears within the pre-scene, and if you're clueless of how and when you are supposed to bring in pre-scene info, you are going to struggle. So you are going to learn these things in depth in next week's webinar, when I'm teaching you answering techniques. And when you watch the master classes, you will gain a sound understanding of how to deal with pre-scene info. So for now, what you need to understand is the fact that you are supposed to refer or cite pre-scene info with the intention of adding value to your answers. And also remember the fact that scenarios presented in the exam carry the latest information. So for instance, as per the pre-scene, we are operating in just 4 industries at the moment. But at your exam, you will receive an unseen, which highlights a totally different picture, or which paints a totally different picture. So let me quickly explain what I'm talking about. So as per the pre-scene, we are only operating within 4 different industries. But as per this unseen, or this question, which is taken from our first mock exam, we are contemplating about moving into medical 3D printing. So I said that there's a connection between what appears within your news articles and the type of questions which are thrown at you. That's exactly what you can see in here. So this question highlights the fact that we are moving into medical 3D printing, and therefore you are supposed to evaluate whether the company should divest its legacy small 3D extrusion printer line to support expansion into this high growth 3D printing segment. All right, so this is how your knowledge is tested. So you have to be prepared for anything. You have to walk into the exam with a high level of open-mindedness, given the fact that anything can be tested, anything which comes from E3, F3, P3 syllabi, and at the same time, anything concerning any type of an opportunity the company is facing, or any type of an issue the company intends to manage can be tested at your exam. Okay, so the pre-scene gives you a glimpse into the past of the organization and what it plans to achieve in the future. But at the exam, you are going to get information concerning the present business dynamics, which highlights some type of an issue the company is facing, or some type of an opportunity the company intends to exploit. Okay, so that's how you should deal with pre-scene application. You'd gain a better understanding when you watch the master classes and when you take steps to redevelop answer plans. I'm going to explain all these things in depth in next week's webinar when I'm teaching you answering and time management techniques. All right, I'm going to explain what we offer at TCS. So I'm on the SCS page. If you're yet to create a free account, please click on this button and create one. Once you have created a free account, you'd gain access to our student dashboard. So click on it, and then in front of click on my courses, and in front of SCS free, you'd see an access content button. And once you click on it, you'd gain access to the videos tab. And when you're on the videos tab, you can watch the recorded versions of the weekly webinars and workshops. And under the study material tab, you'd gain access to the pre-scene mind map, the PDF version of the pre-scene mind map, the answer plan of mock exam 1, and the syllabus coverage document. And also under the mocks tab, you'd gain access to the questions and suggested answers of mock exam 1. And via the exams tab, you have the opportunity of accessing our exam platform, via which you can attempt mock number 1 in its entirety under exam conditions. And our exam platform is the exact replica of the Pearson VUE system on which you attempt your real examination. So you have the opportunity of attempting mock number 1 under exam conditions via our exam platform. However, do not attempt mock number 1 as yet. Wait until we are done with the third webinar, which is happening next week, in which I'm going to teach you answering and time management techniques. So after you have learned these two techniques, then practice these two techniques when attempting mock number 1 under exam conditions via our exam platform. So these are the resources on offer free of charge. So make use of these resources by clicking on this button and creating a free user account. And if you're yet to join the SCS WhatsApp discussion forum, click on this button and join it, because via this WhatsApp group, we will be sharing hordes of free resources. And at the same time, if you have any questions, you can get them addressed instantaneously, because I'm always ready or available via this WhatsApp group. And talking about what we offer 2 packages, the essential course and the premium course. The essential is designed for those who have completed their OTQs or those who are coming through the traditional route. Since you have completed your OTQs, you have already learned all conceptual elements. So when conducting your preparations, it is simply a matter of brushing up your application capabilities. Since you are coming through the traditional route, you have already completed your operational case study as well as management case study. So you have a sound understanding of how your knowledge is tested. So by having access to just the 7 mock exams, you can easily figure out application on your own. So the essential course comes with the recordings of all weekly webinars and workshops, the 7 mock exams with suggested answers, which contain 63 questions in total, covering the 60-odd syllabus areas tested at the SCS exam. You will also gain access to the pre-scene analysis videos. There are 4 videos in total. So you experienced how we conduct our pre-scene analysis sessions a while back. So the entire set of pre-scene analysis videos, which covers the entire pre-scene, can be accessed via the essential course. You'd also gain access to the annotated pre-scene, the industry analysis and financial analysis slides a while back. You saw what these resources look like. You'd also gain access to the top 10 likely issue slides, which indicate the most probable scenarios which can be thrown at you at your exam. And also you'd gain access to the case study familiarization kit. Once you have read through this kit in just 10 to 15 minutes, you will gain an in-depth understanding of the technicalities behind your SCS exam. You'd also gain access to a tutor-managed live chat and OTQ revision cards. So after attempting each mock exam, if you feel that you need to brush up your knowledge concerning a certain conceptual element, you need not waste time to go through your bulky study texts or your old notes. simply refer to the OTQ revision cards which are available under the essential course. So the essential course is priced at £349, which can be paid in 2 installments of £174 each, or if you opt to pay in full, you will get a £50 discount. If so, the price will be just £299. And talking about the premium course, this is intended for those who are coming through the exemption routes and those who had failed the SCS exam previously. So both these sets of students have the same problem. There are gaps in theory knowledge as well as issues with application. So with the prime intention of ensuring that you learn the entire syllabus and at the same time you figure out application, we have included some additional resources under the premium course on top of what appears under the essential course. So if you opt for premium, you'd gain access to the online mock exam platform via which you can attempt all 7 mock exams under exam conditions, which is the best way to master your answering, time management and stress management techniques. And also you'd gain access to the answer plans of all mock exams. So let me quickly show you what an answer plan looks like. So these answer plans are the summarized versions of the suggested answers of each of the 7 mock exams. And when you have access to these summarized versions of answers, or in other words, answer plans, you are in a position to clearly understand the logic behind each answer. You will clearly see how to approach each conceptual element as well as how to deal with application. And when conducting your revision, your job is to try and replicate these answer plans on your own, trying to figure out whether you are in a position to come up with answer plans which are akin to TCSS. If so, you can rest assured that you are in a position to come up with high quality answers, develop high quality answers on the day of your exam. And the premium course comes with 20 plus master classes as well. And the master classes are developed with the intention of teaching you the logic behind each answer, and at the same time teaching you the theoretical concepts covered within each of our mock exams. And at the same time, we are teaching you how to apply each of these theoretical concepts. So if you are coming through an exemption route, there aren't any resources on your FLP platform or your exemption platform, which is intended to teach you application. You need not worry, because we have developed these master classes which are totally aligned with the 7 mocks we have shared with you. So after attempting a certain mock exam, simply watch the master classes to learn the logic behind each answer, learn the theoretical concepts covered within the mock exam, and at the same time learn application. And you'd also gain access to in-depth tutor feedback on 2 mock exams, namely mocks 3 and 5. So let me quickly show you the type of feedback on offer at TCS. So as you can see, we have evaluated each and every point, each and every paragraph in depth, with the prime intention of highlighting your shortcomings. Because if you do not understand your shortcomings, you'd keep repeating the same mistakes over and over. But when you receive this type of tutor feedback, you will definitely realize what your shortcomings are. And when you realize your shortcomings, then you can fix these problems when you are conducting revision, when you are supposed to when you are redeveloping answer plans. So you can see the type of feedback on offer at TCS. We provide in-depth tutor feedback, and at the very end, we do indicate marks on a subtask by subtask basis. Not just marks, we also indicate a success rate, which highlights the subtasks in which your performance was substandard. So if you look at this answer script and the feedback provided, this student has not done a good job concerning 3 subtasks, which are highlighted in yellow. Okay, so when you receive this type of tutor feedback, you'd understand the subtasks in which your performance was below par. And when conducting your revision, your job is to redevelop answer plans focused on the subtasks which are highlighted in yellow. All right, so that's the type of feedback on offer at TCS. And when you have access to all these resources, you will pass for sure. Hence the pass guarantee provided under premium. So if you invest on premium and end up failing, scoring between 70 to 79 marks, you will gain access to the premium content in your subsequent sitting free of charge. So we have come up with this condition in which you are supposed to score between 70 to 79 marks to claim the pass guarantee, given the fact that you cannot simply pass this exam simply by investing on premium. Instead, you have to at least partially utilize the material on offer. If you do so, you are in a position to score between 70 to 79. If you if you prove that you have done your part, you have gone through the resources, you have utilized the resources at least partially, thereby scoring between 70 to 79, then we will be you are in a position to claim the pass guarantee. So the premium course is priced at £849, which can be paid in 3 installments of £283 each. Or if you opt to pay in full, you will save £100. If so, the price is just £749. So you can invest on your preferred course by clicking on either of these buttons. And let me quickly take you to the SCS study plan because we shared an 8-week study plan last week. And as per this study plan, we are in week number 2, in which you are supposed to master your pre-scene document. So with this in mind, watch the pre-scene analysis videos in its entirety, which are available under the paid content. As I mentioned earlier, there are 4 videos. You need to watch all 4 videos. And once you have watched them, conduct your revision by referring to the annotated pre-scene, read through the annotated pre-scene on your own, and refer to the industry and financial analysis slides, thereby spending some time to revise your knowledge. And it is essential that you complete the pre-scene analysis or focus on decrypting the pre-scene within this week itself, so that you can direct your attention towards attempting mock exams from week 3 onwards. So week number 3, which is next week, is going to be the most hectic one because you are supposed to master 2 mock exams within week number 3. That is why the weekly study hours come up to 12 hours in total. But from there onwards, from week 4 onwards, it is simply a matter of having to dedicate just 9 hours of study time per week. So in order to be in a position to attempt mock exams from week number 3 within this week, I want you guys to complete watching the pre-scene analysis videos and conduct revision by reading through the annotated pre-scene industry and financial analysis slides. All right, so that's what we offer. And I'm happy to say that we achieved an 86% pass rate in February 2026 exams. And the students who passed ended up passing simply by sticking to our study plan. So I urge you to stick to our study plan, which we have already shared with you. Start your preparations right now. Do not wait until the last moment, because if you do so, you will have time to attempt all the mock exams, but you won't have time to watch all the master classes and redevelop answer plans. So revision is crucial. Via revision, you can significantly improve your skill set, improve your theory knowledge and application capabilities, and as well as when you take steps to redevelop answer plans, your main objective should be to improve your answering technique. So before walking into the exam, you need to improve your knowledge as well as skill set. So that's why I want you to start right now, because if you start right now, then you can pace out your preparations so that you are in a position to conduct your studies in a stress-free environment. However, if you wait until the last moment, then as I mentioned earlier, you won't have time to utilize all the resources on offer. So I urge you to start right now to ensure that you pass comfortably in your upcoming exams happening in August 2026. So if you want to contact us, you can do it via our website, which is www.study@tcs.com. So visit our website, and click on the contact button and drop us a message. Our admin staff will get in touch with you via email during office hours, or you can directly email us at info@study@tcs.com. If you need instantaneous support, drop me a message via this WhatsApp number. And I urge you to follow us on our social media handles, especially YouTube and TikTok, because via YouTube, you would gain access to the recorded versions of the weekly webinars and workshops. And via TikTok, you would gain access to 6 videos, which makes up the pre-scene mind map. So you have access to the video version of the pre-scene mind map as well as the PDF version. On a daily basis, on your way to office, for instance, keep watching these TikToks over and over so that you get conversant with the most important points which are highlighted within the pre-scene. Because if you can remember these points at the exam, You need not waste time to read through the pre-scene and spot information. You will remember it when you start going through this information from day one, from today itself. So I hope you'd use these resources. So thank you very much for joining the session. I hope you gain something out of this, and I hope you gain a good understanding of the internals and externals of your chosen company. And I urge you to start your preparations right now, because if you wait until the last moment, you'd have too much on your plate. Because success comes down to not just attempting mocks. You have to take steps to considerably improve your answering technique. So that's why revision is key. So dedicate this week towards mastering the pre-scene, and then from next week onwards, once I've taught you answering and time management techniques, you can start your mock attempts as well as conduct revision based on the same mock exam. So thank you very much for joining. I'll see you guys next week, in which I'm going to teach you answering and time management techniques